Welcome to Soul Sync.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Soul Sync podcast, bitches.
I love that. Welcome, everyone. What's poppin'? What's up?
Oh, yeah. As you can hear, Taylor and I are in the best mood ever, literally.
Yeah, we're vibing over here. We have been talking for like a couple hours at least on the phone already. So we're in good, high vibing energy to start this podcast off. You're welcome.
Oh, yeah. We literally, to go with our topic today about intuition, we listened to our intuition, and last night, literally at like 11:30, we were like, why don't we go for a hot girl walk for an hour, catch up, talk, and do our thing? We'll like Sage and Palo Santo together, get all the energy right, and then record our podcast. And I think this should be like a weekly ritual that we do because, oh my God, like it just, I'm like on cloud nine right now. Like I feel like I'm high and I'm sober.
Oh my God, I feel the same way. It's like you're just so elevated and everything's just,
Yes,
I don't know. And we also saged and everything like that. So I feel like we got all the negative energy out or stagnant energy, and we're just filling it all up with that good, high vibing, bright white light, people. Oh God.
oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. Taylor, do you want to tell them, speaking of bright white light, what we're going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about our little gut feeling
Mhm.
that we call our intuition
Mhm.
and its importance and how we can utilize it more in life. And I think people sometimes just downplay their intuition altogether. Like they don't think, and they don't really have ears to listen for it as much and pay attention and to like take it into account more in life. But I feel like we've learned throughout our lives how beneficial listening to your intuition can actually be.
Mhm.
So we gotta trust that bitch.
Fuck yeah. And I love that you actually said that of you need to trust it because I feel like I've always heard people be like, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust the higher power, trust the process. But I feel like I'm always like, but how? You know? How do I fucking do that? I'm such a like go by the rules kind of girly, it's like I don't know, it's just that like perfectionism in me from our last podcast where I'm like, give me the steps, I want to listen. But when it comes to your intuition, it's actually the fucking opposite because your intuition might be telling you the most randomest stuff, like maybe it's like go to the pool and you're like, what? But I have work to do, like why should I go to the pool? And it's like, go to the motherfucking pool. And we need to learn to listen to that. And sometimes it's going to tell you just the most randomest things, but it's going to be for a reason. And learning to trust that is honestly really learning to trust yourself and learning to trust your higher self and what your guides and what source is trying to speak through you.
Oh my God, 100%. And have you ever just been curious as to just be like, you know what? Whatever my intuition is telling me, I'm just going to run with it. I'm
Mhm.
not going to question it. I'm just going to be like, yep, that's it. And whenever, at least for me, whenever I do that and I'm like, prove me right, like prove that, I'm giving you my trust. So prove me right. It always fucking does. And I
Mhm.
know we probably both have like a million examples, but I'll tell you one that like recently happened to me. It was a hot yoga class at 8:30 in the morning. And if you know me, you know I'm not an early bird. So already I'm just like, oh, like whatever. I'll just suck it up and do it. And it was with my boyfriend and his sister. And I'm all excited to go because I love hot yoga, like there's so many benefits to it. It's such a good vibe always. Like it's a great time. And the morning came, it was Sunday morning, and I got up and instantly the first feeling in my stomach was like, no, go
Mhm.
back to bed. And I thought that it was me just being like lazy or, like not wanting to go or just needing more sleep or whatever like that. But like I wasn't tired. Like I felt good. I felt fine. But everything in me was like, you're not going to this class.
Mhm.
And so I sat with it for a little bit and I was like, ooh, she's being like really loud about it. Like she does not want me to go. Like I was just getting bad feelings after bad feeling while I'm getting ready. And then finally, like I looked at Tyler and I was like, I'm gonna sit this one out. Like, this is gonna be a sibling thing. You guys have fun, like, whatever. So, come to find out, maybe like an hour and a half goes by and they come busting in the door and they're like, "Taylor, you're so fucking lucky you didn't go to this yoga class. The teacher called out sick and it was a different teacher and she was terrible and she kicked our asses and it was like the hardest power flow. Like it was supposed to be a relaxing like yoga flow, which are the ones that I like. And
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh my god, no, like, you picked the best day to miss, like, all this shit," and I was like, "It was my intuition, like, I'm telling you, she just knew that was gonna happen." And, yeah, so that was just, like, the most instant confirmation for me that happened lately, and I was just like, "Shit, when you learn to listen to her, she makes sense."
100%. And I'm sure that made you feel just so good because I feel like every time you listen to your intuition and then you look back and it's like, oh shit, like she was right. She was speaking facts. It really reaffirms that you should trust her, you know? So I'm sure that made you feel so good and really proved like you weren't being lazy, but you didn't go for a reason because that would have been awful.
I would have pushed through, I'm sure, but unnecessarily, like it's supposed to be for your leisure, for fun, for relaxation, whatever. Hell no, it was the complete opposite. So, that's just a little personal experience with my intuition.
I've more so really been tapping into like listening to my intuition on a daily, right? And I'm like all day, every day listening to it. So I don't really have too many exact examples just because of the fact that like I've just been doing it for so many days in a row now that it's kind of just becoming a routine. But what I'm noticing is I had talked to you here on the podcast a couple of weeks ago saying how when I got back from California, I started doing like the saging, the Palo Santoing, having a really clear morning routine where I meditate, I journal every single morning. I've also been looking up, let me get you guys his Instagram because it is so good. And I know that I literally just sent Taylor one a couple weeks ago. So his name is Matt Ganji, Gangi, and he does Reiki healings via Instagram. So I will like go throughout my whole morning routine. And weirdly enough, every time I open up my Instagram, he's one of the first videos. So I'll listen to my intuition and I'll get some Reiki from him. And it's just been like really lighting up my day. But I noticed that I've been following my coach, Michaela. She's always said, like, what do you feel called to do today? And then go around that. However, the workaholic and the perfectionism in me just could never do that because I was like, no, I have 20 things I need to do for work. Like, I need to get this shit done. I would put work before even eating. Like, Tom, before I went to Bali in February, I was at the lowest point in my fitness journey. I was at the lowest point in my mental health just because I was working so much, you know? I mean, I had the app switch and I had so many different like variables going on. So I definitely feel a lot more grounded in my foundation. My program's all set up. Like there's so many amazing things that like I overcame within that transition, but I wasn't even eating. He'd be like, "Sammy, did you drink water within the last hour? Like, did you have breakfast this morning?" And I wasn't doing any of that. So what I've been doing now since I do have all my ducks in a row is I just literally do what do I feel called to do today? And I will listen to it. And honestly, sometimes it's just go to the gym and I go to the gym at that time. Sometimes, like I said, it's been like go to the pool. And when I go to the pool, sometimes I end up working and I'm like talking to my clients and I'm having an amazing time. And I'm like, why did I not talk to my clients outside this whole time? Like, why did I feel like to talk to my clients, I had to be trapped in my apartment behind my screen and I couldn't have a good time? Like, what? That makes no sense to me. Even with posting, like lately, I've been going on a hot girl walk and making my posts, like doing my editing for my reels because I do everything myself. And it's like those little small micro shifts of what do I feel called to do? I'm still able to get my tasks done, but I'm feeling so much more called to go for a walk, to go by the ponds and ground myself, bring a towel and just sit there. Just do all these random things. But holy shit, my energy has been on point to the point that with my intuition, like some examples that I'll now give now that I kind of like did that It's had some really crazy synchronicities. So I think the craziest one for me is that I've really been working on loving myself as much as I would want love from Tom, because I think one of the hardest things that I realized throughout that last full moon was that Sammy still had some healing to do. And we all always have some healing to do, but I had some like really big inner child things that needed love. It really needed love. And it's not that kind of love that can come from anybody else. It's just not possible, you know? So I needed to love myself. So it was Friday. Tom was working all day. And I remember I was like, okay, like I all of a sudden wanted protein Pop Tarts. I was craving them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get the protein Pop Tarts. And then in my head, it was like, bring Nala. You need to work on her training because you're going on a plane soon. And I've been really wanting to do that. And instead of it being like, I have to do it this many times a week at this time, I'm just listening to my intuition. So when I do things, I naturally bring her. So it was like, bring her to Target, put on her service dog, like, let's go. So it was like, okay, like, let's go. Then I'm driving and all of a sudden there's like a cop behind me. It followed me for 5 minutes. Oh, I still have PTSD from, like, literally when that cop pulled us over, Taylor, when Tom and I first started dating 3 years ago. Like, funny story, this cop pulled me over for speeding. I was so, so, so excited that Taylor and Tom were finally meeting. We were going to a pool party, like, we were young, you know? So, I was speeding, I will be so honest about that, but it was just I was so excited, I just wanted to get there. And this cop, like, literally cursed me the fuck out, and he was like, "Do you wanna kill your friend?" And, like, I was having a panic attack. Tom is in the seat next to me. We weren't even dating at this point. We were still just friends, so, like, how embarrassing. Like, I liked this dude, and I just got pulled over in front of him, and he's like, "She's having a panic attack, like, give her a second." And the guy is like, "I can't fucking hear you. I don't give a fuck." And he's just screaming at me. So ever since then, I've been deathly afraid of cops. Like, not in a way, like I love them. I think that they like do an amazing service for us, but every time I have a siren that goes by, a cop is behind me, I'm immediately dragged back to that spot. And like, oh my God, it's just awful. My like I have chills right now. So I went the opposite way. I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn right, and then the cop could go straight. And literally, guess who is at the same intersection as me? Tom. Like, he's literally right fucking there. And I was like, "Hi, babe. Like, hi. Didn't know that I was gonna like run by you." So that was like one funny thing. And then later on in the evening, he had texted me and he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, there is this concert that's going on. I thought of you. I thought you might want to go." And typically I'd be like, you know what? It's 7:30. I don't want to go out. Like, I'm tired. Some excuse would come up. But this time my intuition was like, Sammy, go. Go right now. So I ended up going. It took me about 10 minutes just to find parking. It was so packed. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go home. I can't find parking. And it was like, go one more time. I go one more time. And guess what I find? I find a parking spot. Okay. Like literally right next to the band. So I barely had to walk, which I'm fine with walking, but like, just another synchronicity. The universe is giving me that little like gift. So then I'm walking around and not gonna lie, like when you date someone for 3 years, you don't necessarily do as many things alone as I wish that I do. So I was like, this is such a great opportunity. I'm having like a little date night with myself. But I noticed I was like, oh my God, I'm low key uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know like what to do. So I walked around and then all of a sudden I felt called to like go to the left. I looked to the left and there was a big bench that just had my name on it. So I sat in the middle and I was like, I'm taking up space today. And I felt like that was just there for me. So I'm enjoying the band. They had a couple of songs, but I was so happy that I even like made it before they finished. So then I'm like, you know what? There's this cute little art studio. I'm going to go to the art studio. So I went to the art studio and then I felt called to make a reel. So I like started talking and I was like, look, like I just got over 1,000 steps in watching a concert, going to this art studio where they had free food, free drinks, mind you, and I got to see all this beautiful artwork, which, like, I'm obsessed with. I absolutely love just walking around Taylor. You and I have done that so many times where we've gone to museums or, like, we're
Yeah.
both just very into that, so it was such a vibe, and then all of a sudden, guess what comes in my head? I'm like, "All right, Sammy, you gotta treat yourself to a little dinner. Like, we're having such a good date night. The only way you can finish this is by getting a burger. Like, come on, we all want a burger, right?" So
We
this
all want a burger.
smelling it and I'm like, "Ah, like it smells so good." There is literally a line out the door. Like there was 20 people waiting outside. No joke. I am not kidding you. It was packed. So I'm like, "Ah, okay, like, you know what? I'll go in there. If there's a seat at the bar, then I will sit down and I will order myself a burger." I walk in and no joke, I asked the waitress, I'm like, "Hey, like, is there any seats at the bar? Like, is it first come, first serve?" She goes, "Yeah, there's actually somebody getting up right here." And I look to the right, and straight in front of me, somebody is getting up, and there was a spot perfect for me. And I sat next to these two girls who just so happened to be interested in living a little bit of a healthier lifestyle. So they followed me. We had such good conversation. They made me laugh the whole fucking time. And then, weirdly enough, guess who walks in the fucking door because he got an order? Tom.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, and I felt like that was just such proof that when you, because obviously, like, we are amazing, but, like, when you are in, like, that type of love for yourself, you're always going to attract love, even if you're in a long-term relationship, like, it's always something for you to continuously be working on. So when I looked to the right and I was like, this man is literally walking in the door. Like, how ironic that I feel called to go to this specific restaurant and then he gets an order and he comes here, you know? So it just felt like such a day of synchronicities that I was just like, it's just such proof. The more love you put into yourself, the more intention that you put into what your intuition is saying, the more the universe is going to show you, like, I'm listening, keep going. And, like, I feel like when it comes to long-term relationships or just relationships with yourself, it's always going to be a work in progress. You always need to work on it. So it just was like so validating for me. I was just like, "Oh my God, like I'm amazing. We're amazing." Like, and it just was such a vibe. And it was all because the whole motherfucking day, I just did all these random things that I felt called to do. And they were so fucking random. Like, so random, you know?
Holy shit, I love that. But that just goes to show, like, when you blindly, like, follow it, and don't question it at all. It's like the first thought, and you're like, "Yep, that's it. That's what we're doing. We're not gonna give any pushback. Like, we're just gonna go with our feelings." It takes you to places that, like, you're aligned with, I feel like, in places that, like, you're meant to go, you're meant to experience certain things. It's fun trying to trace back and think about, like, okay, well, like, if I did all this by just listening to my intuition, like, what is coming out of it? Like, there's gotta be something coming out of it or for it. And every time there is, like, I swear to God, every time there's a bigger purpose and things just have to line up the way they have to line up. And that's also like destiny type thing. We're channeling this type of energy to like make these type of decisions and just listen to that gut feeling. So, girl, that's wild.
It is wild. It is wild, especially just because like all those just random coincidences, like the listeners, they might be like, "Oh, well, like you see Tom all the time." So like, but for me, it's like I'm really putting that intention of like, hey, the more that I love myself right now, the more support I'm gonna have from everybody in my life, not just my relationship. So it's like it just for me, I saw every single time that we randomly saw each other, I was like, it's just a sign that more of that love and more of that support is coming in all areas.
Mhm. You're manifesting it too. Like,
Fuck yeah.
all of that is being attracted to you. Like, you don't have to reach out and do it. You just have to follow your feelings and
Mhm.
see where it guides you. And the little voice in your head, like, she talks. So it's like up to us if we want to listen to it or not. For me, it's always like the curiosity killed the cat type thing. Like, I'll hear something and be just like so curious, like, Ooh, it's telling me to go to the beach when it's pouring outside. I'm like, "Why would I ever wanna do that?"
No.
Then, like, come to find out, like, I ended up releasing, like, so much energy and just so much stuff and giving it to the universe, and, like, it ended up being, like, the most beautiful experience ever. Like, crazy things like that that sometimes don't even logically make any sense. It's like, just run with it. Just see what happens. Just see what comes from it. Because in life, there are like bazillions of choices that we make every day. Something different comes from each of these choices, and it's totally up to us. It's like, wouldn't you want your navigation to be a higher power like that? Like,
Mhm.
be your intuition and like if we're just beings of God and beings of the universe and we're made of stardust and like we have the answers in us. We really do. So to be able to tap into that, listen to it and be able to like determine if it's your ego, your higher self, your intuition, like sifting through the voices and stuff. I mean, I have a lot more voices going on with my ADHD. I swear it's like a constant conversation in there. But your intuition, she has this little squeaky voice and she's like, ahem, I have something to say, and it's gonna make no sense at all. But hear me out. Like, I don't know, ice cream for dinner, like some crazy shit. And then like one thing always leads to another and ends up uncovering something that if you would have made any smaller decision in any other direction, it wouldn't have turned out the same way. So I think this is an appreciation for our intuition too.
Yeah.
Like we love you.
Well, I feel like even when it comes to like manifestation, when it's like you're calling things in, because Taylor and I, what we were talking about today is our new moon rituals because it is the new moon right now. I know it won't be when this airs. However, it's like, think about it. If you're putting, for example, with me with Austin, I was like, I'm manifesting like the best bang for my buck deal when it comes to my plane ride, right? Like, that's what I'm manifesting. So
Mhm.
there were countless times that I would go and look at the tickets and be like, no, not yet. No, not yet. And I'd be like, oh, but like, what if the tickets go up? What if it goes up? But it was like, no, not fucking yet, bitch. And then literally the tickets that I got were the cheapest price that I had found. And it was because I kept listening to that intuition that was just like, not yet, not yet, not yet. Or even when it comes to like the move, right? Obviously, I haven't seen Austin yet, but there is something in me that's like, I need to go. I need to go. And I'm so grateful because the universe has just been giving me all these friends there. Like my coach Michaela lives there, her best friend Caleb lives there, and we connected so well when it came to Cali. I met two girls in California that are now like both of them are my clients, first of all, but they're also my really, really, really good friends. We started off as friends first, and then they were like, fuck, I really want help with my fitness. Can you help me out? One lives in Dallas, one lives in Austin. In Bali, I met a girl that lives in Austin and we still talk to this day. She's fucking amazing. So it's like the universe is giving me all these hints of like, hey, Sammy, here's a gem, here's a gem, here's a gem. I believe you should go there. And that's what my intuition keeps saying. And then my really good friend Kylie, I actually met her at a retreat too. So if you have not gone on a retreat, like ladies or gentlemen too, go on a retreat, like treat yourself, go meet new people. Cause I've met the most amazing souls at Michaela's retreat. She's at the Michaela J. So if you want to go ahead and follow her, look into her retreats because they're just fucking life changing. But Kylie did a reading for me, and then after that, she, like, went into I'm gonna totally mispronounce this. It's astrology? Astrology? Whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. Look it up.
Astrology?
It's like when you know how I was telling you that I go right through Austin?
Oh, it's like astrocartology or chartology or something like that. It's like chart or cart in the middle of it. I don't know.
No idea. You guys Google it. Be like, just Google it. Google has the answer for everything.
Yeah.
But she was like, Sammy, this is why you're so fucking drawn to Austin. Like, you go right through it. She put my birth chart in it, and it was like literally right through. And it's like the place where I feel most at home. I feel like I can self-express myself and I feel just one and I am on my like best vibration when I'm there. And she was like, this is why. Like everyone's asking you, well, how do you know that you're feeling called to go to Austin? You've never been there. Blah, 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 blah. And people have said that my whole life, even when it came to being an entrepreneur. They're like, well, how do you know that's going to be stable? Blah, 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 blah. Like, you guys go over there. I'm listening to my intuition, okay? This is what she's telling me to do. So I'm listening. And when Kylie told me that, I was like, holy shit, this is why. Like, that was the confirmation that I needed. And that's where what we were saying before of trust yourself comes in because there's gonna be naysayers that are like, I don't know if you should do that. That's such a big move. I don't know if you should go on your own business. That's not stable. Like, what happens if I remember like somebody very, very, very close to me? And this honestly haunted me for months. But they had said to me right before I moved, well, what if you lose all your clients? What if your business downfalls? What if you can't pay your bills and you go through all your savings? And what if Tom leaves you? That's what they fucking said to me. And this was a family member. Okay. And I will say I had a conversation a lot longer later because I don't like confrontation. But I did have a conversation and I was like, you have no idea how much you fucked with my head when you said that. And I was like, and that is not okay. You are never allowed, like I said, I'm making this boundary. You're never allowed to give me your opinion again unless I ask for it.
Yeah.
Never again. Because the opposite happened. My business skyrocketed. I had record breaking months. I've traveled to 4 different countries within this last year. So I really just said, fuck you. Like, I'm over here doing my damn thing. But it's because I listened to my intuition, even when nobody else supported me through that.
Fuck.
Hmm.
That's so true. You
Hmm.
always have her to fall back on,
You
you
really
know?
do.
Oh my God. I know, right?
I just love her. Oh my God, I never thought about that. That like you just always have your intuition to fall back on. Because that's
Oh,
what I would fall back on. Like at night when I was hearing those words and I was like, oh my God, what if that happens? Because of course your ego comes in and it's like that person is right. It was my intuition that was like, "No, it's not right. This is your calling. You're following your purpose." And whenever you follow your purpose, like Taylor said, there's always so much beauty to come from it, right? Especially when you're in a field like I am, where I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. I don't do it for the money. Like, of course, we got to pay bills. Like, that's just a part of our human society and human life. But like, I got into this field and I said this on live yesterday because I had no support throughout my fitness journey. I felt so alone and I never wanted a female to feel that way fucking again. And it was my intuition. I didn't even know I was going to start coaching for fitness. I always knew I wanted to work online, but I had no idea what the niche was. And then all of a sudden, my intuition was like, Sammy, your spiritual fitness coach. Sammy, your spiritual fitness coach. And I kept denying her. I was like, no, I don't want to talk about spirituality things. No, what if people make fun of me? Like, no, I already went through that phase of people calling me crazy. I'll just keep it to myself. And what do you know? I have manifested since doing that the best friendships, the best clients, and I've been happier than I've ever been in my entire life, especially in terms of my career. Because my intuition kept saying, Sammy, your spiritual fitness coach, that is who you fucking are. And you can ignore your intuition. You really can, but I promise you, she's only gonna get louder. She's only gonna get louder.
oh my God. Don't I know that? Sometimes when you do the wrong thing and then she'll like start screaming and then give you all these signs and you're just like, okay, I hear you. I
Mhm.
get it. And then you finally do it and it's like, okay, that's what I needed to do. Holy shit. Girl. It's definitely a muscle that you have to exercise, you
Mhm.
know, like just giving in that trust. And I love like that you were able to have that experience with a family member and be able to determine for yourself, like, no, that's not like we're not thinking with that logic.
Mhm.
Because that's kind of what intuition is like answers and steps and what you should do and where you should, gear your energy towards without any logic behind it.
Mhm.
It's really just a conscious feeling, and it's really scary for people to just do things based off feeling or just trust based off feelings. It's like, especially nowadays, with science, they need, like, something backed behind it, or there has to be evidence or proof that this works and this is what I should do, and very, like, type A like that type of thinking with a lot of logic behind it, and intuition really challenges all of that. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, can you really dive blindly into the abyss? Like, are
Mhm.
you able to really, like, take your reality and just flip it upside down and still walk the path that you feel called to walking, and just knowing for a fact that something amazing is gonna come from it. And if something amazing doesn't come, something necessary will, you know? So there is a lot of trust in intuition, and I think it's a good challenge for people to maybe at least once a day to start off with, to sit with yourself and really just think about what you're called to do that day. And you could even say it out loud and ask yourself out loud, or ask your own intuition and just be like, what is one thing that will get me closer to my higher self today? Or what is one thing that I'm feeling pulled to do that will benefit me only for my greatest good? And it's a great way to start working out that intuition muscle, because then when you start giving a little more trust and a little more trust and a little more, like, you get more curious, like, okay, like, what's going to come from this? Life starts handing you some, like, amazing things and some challenging things and things that will open your eyes to, like, the world, to who you are, and it's like some things you just have to take and run with. And yeah, I think our intuition has really led us to where we are today, and it's something that we can thank a million times over, but, like, thank God we fucking listened to her with
Yeah.
all of our past situations and everything, like, thank fucking God.
I mean, I just think about, like, even with you when I hope it's okay that I talk about this because in our last episode, when we were talking about the power of like forgiveness, and we were talking the one before about what we were releasing, and it came to that last relationship that you were in, it was your intuition. When you came to me, you knew. And I think that, like you said, sometimes your intuition is telling you to do something and you just genuinely don't want to do. Like, you could be breaking your own heart in the process, or maybe your intuition is telling you to leave this job that you absolutely fucking hate. But it's like, well, then how will I pay for bills? And where am I going to go? What am I going to do? It's those moments when you actually listen to it that changes the trajectory of your life. And so many beautiful things, Taylor, came from you making that one decision. And I don't know why that like popped up in my head, but it's like you went to Costa Rica. That was another intuition where it was like, I remember that when you were just like, Sammy, like, let's go to Costa Rica. It was in February and you were like, let's just go. Like, well, let's plan it for the end of the year. Maybe in like we said October, November. And
Mhm.
then a couple months later, you're like, actually, I'm thinking about doing this massage therapy program there. I feel really called to go. And what do you know? When I came to visit you for your graduation, it was in November,
Yeah,
right?
isn't that
So it's
crazy?
like, just looking back, even on knowing you for so long, your intuition has guided you for so many things. But like those two things alone were probably the scariest things you've ever done. Like that investment was the biggest investment you've made in yourself. But you fucking listened to her. And it brought you just it brought you Ava, it brought you your career, and now it brought you Tyler. Like so many beautiful things have come from it. I feel like I'm gonna choke up. Oh my God.
Oh, girl, I fucking love you. Oh my God. That's so sweet. And, like, you're right. Like, it was like a complete 180 of just taking that deep dive.
Mhm.
And it was a bunch of money I saved up for Florida, like, for the move to Florida, because 'cause I've been pulled there for the longest time. And I was, like, thinking so logically, like, "But why would I wanna, like, use all of that money,
Mhm.
like, that I've been saving for Florida and for making that jump on, like, this?" And it was still in my head, like, every day of, like, "No, this is what you're meant to do. Like, this is the road, this is the path." I was like, "Okay." So, I mean, it sounded fun. I was like, "Costa Rica? Shit." We manifested that for one, but also it was just like a blind jump into faith of like, whatever's meant to happen, say less. And for me, the curiosity always gets me. I'm just a curious person, I guess. I'm always like, I wonder what would happen if I just did this, or I wonder what would happen if I just said this to someone. Like, like you change the narrative of like, oh, I don't want to do it, and give yourself pushback to, I wonder what would happen if I did
I agree.
this or something better.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. This or something better, babe. And I feel like that's what our intuition is always saying. It's like, what's happening? This is going to work out or is going to give you something better. Just sometimes when you're actually in the decision making process or you're in the muck of it, like we like to say here on our podcast, it's really hard to see that. So I think that's where the trust comes in. And like we said, you're going to trust your intuition more and more the way that you practice the muscle, you know? And I fucking love that analogy too. I'm totally going to use that.
What?
Like practicing your intuition, like it's like a muscle. You got to keep using it. You got to keep growing it. You got to keep building it. You also got to give it that love and that recovery of like, hey, I do trust you and I do listen to you because I think a part of our intuition, like think about our ego, right? Like our ego it can kind of like overcloud sometimes. So I think when we don't listen to our intuition at all, even though she will get louder and she'll come at you more and more, I think a part of her gets sad too. She's like, why are you not listening to me? Like, because our intuition is our self, it is our higher self. So it's like you're not listening to yourself. And that's just probably so heartbreaking for that inner child in you of like, why? Like, why am I not important enough for you to hear what I'm having to say when it is so important and it's for your greatest and highest good?
100%. That just goes into like, we really do have all the answers within us.
Mhm.
And I really like do believe that. Like we are the universe experiencing itself, and like any projections we make, like we manifest into our physical reality. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, why not listen to her? She's giving you answers. So any way that we can practice even just hearing her and like deciphering if it is. I like how we put a gender. Like it's like her. Yours could be whatever you want, like whatever gender you want, but mine is her. She's a bad bitch and she just talks freely and I listen to her. So that's what we gotta do. So to wrap things up, we could talk about like little things that we do, maybe some tips or tricks on how we listen to our intuition and go about our day and just following that bitch. So Sammy, do you do anything in particular to listen to her or to find her in day to day?
I feel like lately I've really been feeling tapped into the like, what do I feel called to do? And I don't necessarily do this all day. I really do it at times where I notice I have more free time, you know, or at night when it's like, like, what do I feel called to do tonight? And maybe that's a bath. And another way that I'll really practice it is when I do like fun things like baths or I do fun things like arts and crafts. I just go with the flow and I'm like going around my house. I'm like, what crystal do I feel called? What? I have like these little statues, one that Taylor gave me. It's actually right here. Let me go show you guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, sorry if you guys listen to the podcast, you can't hear it. But Taylor gave me this, and I have been using this every single day in my bath ritual, like every single day. So, like, I'll go around being like, what do I feel called to do? Another way that I've been practicing using my intuition, this is something I learned from a previous mentor. I worked with her for a couple of months, just like doing some spiritual things, and it was called aimless wandering. So, it's like you go on a hawk or a walk, but you have no designated time that you need to walk for. Of course, we have our watches on because we're trying to get the steps in, but that's not necessarily the intention. The intention is just to go and ground yourself and aimlessly wander. So you'll listen to your intuition. It'll be like, go right, you go right. go left, you go left. Maybe you're going straight for miles, you go straight. And I always end up finding my way back home and you just listen to your intuition. So I always say, like, just give yourself some time. Like, you can even set a timer of like, maybe you only have 30 minutes. So you do the aimless wandering for 20, you know? And then it's like, okay, as soon as the 20 minutes is up, you know that you can head home so that you get in time for your meeting or for dinner or whatever it is that you have to do. But that's been a really good way that I've been practicing listening to my intuition because it's like, then you get to hear what the voice actually sounds like. Because Taylor said, like, we have multiple different voices in our head. So it's really about pinpointing, like, what voice is my intuition and how can I listen to it so that it gets louder? And when she's talking, I know it's her and I know to listen. So I've really been loving that practice. And I've been doing that probably like every single day, honestly. I've just been naturally doing it.
Oh my God, fuck yeah. Wait, that like aimlessly wandering thing, I love that. I'm gonna do that.
Yes, I've been doing it because honestly, like, I noticed that I was always going for walks either for my steps or either for Nala. And like, I have been in my masculine energy for so long. I listened to this podcast from her name is Mariah Fontana. She's in my business mentor group and I fucking love her. And she was talking about feminine versus masculine energy and she was like, when you are raised with parents that are like very like, be on top of your shit, be a strong independent woman, like always do something like for a result. And that's how I was raised. It's like, well, you aren't taught to be in your feminine energy. You aren't taught to like listen to your intuition or that our bodies are a beautiful vessel. Like, it's kind of like your body is just here to get you through life type of ideal, you know? So, when it came to that, I was like, oh my God, I'm always in my masculine energy. Like, I do everything from it because I'm a business owner and I have pets and I have a relationship and I have a home. Like, there's always all these responsibilities. So it's like, how can you step into your feminine energy? So I started taking walks alone because I was like, I'm always going on walks for steps or I'm always going on walks to walk Nala. And I noticed I wasn't fucking doing anything for me. So what I've been doing is I will still go on my walks for my steps and for Nala, but I will literally drop her off and go right back out. Even if it's just for another 10 minutes, it's like I'm just getting extra steps. So I'm like, we fucking love that. It's cutting season. But two, it just makes me feel so good because my intuition started making me do it. It was like, I just never felt like my walk was done. I was like, I still feel like I have grounding to do. I still feel like I want to move my body. And I just started listening to it and I realized I was like, oh, it was because I always associated this task with such a masculine energy. However, doing this aimless wandering, it is one of the easiest ways to tap into your feminine because it's like you're just going with the flow, quite literally.
Oh my God, yes. And that is when you're in that flow state and anything can come to you. Like I feel like you just attract the best easy flowing things when you're in that state. Oh, I definitely have to try that. I'm
Girl.
just right up.
It's especially fun, like Michaela was telling us this a couple of weeks ago, but it's especially fun when you do it and you like don't bring your phone. So that's been another thing. Like I'll bring my phone when I'm with Nala just in case anything happens, but I do have my Apple Watch where I could call somebody if I need to. So I'll typically leave my phone so that I'm fully off the grid, just like in my own energy.
Yeah, I do something similar to that. Like when it's, every day and you try and like plan out your day, maybe like the night before, or, you're trying to be like strategic with how you spend your time and stuff like that. I'll usually allow myself one of my days off from work to just like not plan anything and like not have a time limit on things and just kind of like see what I'm called and pulled to do in that way because it's so true. When you don't have obligations and you're not like in your head and thinking logically like this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and you just go based off of like, I will go wherever I'm needed to go and I will do whatever is needed for me to do with no time limit on it and feel that pull, like feel where you want to go, what you want to do. Like, and there are different seasons to that too. And that's just a part of listening to your body at the same time of like, what does my body need? Like fuel wise, like what food does it need? Yeah, like stuff like that. So it's just listening. There's so much beauty to listening, and being in tune with that type of energy can help you out so much in the long run.
Mhm.
So,
Is there any tips that you have?
definitely to maybe have like 1 day a week where you can do this and you can practice it, and just like allowing yourself the space and the time, because it's something like we feel like we don't want to give up like a whole day, because it would be like a day wasted, you know what I mean, of just like having nothing planned and just like intuitively living for that 1 day a week. But if you think about it, it wouldn't be a waste. You would be honoring yourself like subconsciously and in ways that you didn't even think you needed. Maybe you're recharging your energy, you're healing inner wounds that you didn't realize even still needed healing, or stuff like that, or letting your inner child out and letting her play. And you just feel so rejuvenated afterwards. So it's like, when did life become so black and white? You know, like in society, like when did we let all of the media and just people's opinions and comparisons and all that like drown out what our true nature is, and like our true purpose for being here, so it's like any way that we can inch our way back to that, and back to just like living for ourselves, and like in our own beautiful world that we build for ourselves, and touching people along the way. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like the better option for me.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think that's so beautiful. And I was actually listening to the podcast that I sent you yesterday with Jay Shetty. He was talking about that exact thing. And he was like, a lot of people feel so guilty taking off that 1 day. But he was like, but you're taking off that 1 day to recharge your energy, to give love back to your own energy. And he was like, when you do that, you are going to move so much more forward and so much more easily because you're not being so resistant and because you're giving yourself that time to refuel your cup. So I think that's the perfect advice. And I think that I need to take it. I definitely have been working on taking it since I came back from Bali, but I think having one designated day, and this could even be the same day every single week for you guys, like it could be like, okay, I know my Sunday, that's kind of what Sundays are for me. It's like a regroup day. It's like when I go over my goals and I meal prep, which I genuinely really enjoy. I'll put like hot girl music on and I'll dance around and like sometimes I'll take videos, but I genuinely like making content. So it's like I'm very much so going with the flow. But it's just like pick that one designated day that's just for you. Maybe it's like I feel called to fucking call my best friend and talk to her for 2 hours like I did this morning with Taylor. Like those are things that give you more energy. So I think another tip that I would give is like what are the activities that give you more energy? Like what are the activities that your intuition tells you to do that makes you feel good? Maybe it's a workout. Maybe it's going to hot yoga like Taylor. Maybe it's even going and just laying in the sun. What are the things that make you feel good? And incorporate that more into your daily routine, or at least, like we said, once a week so that you're giving yourself that love.
Oh yeah, you heard the girl, people. This is your homework,
Uh,
and this is probably a perfect spot to end it today. So, listen to that bitch in your head, in your heart, in your gut. She knows what she's talking about, okay? And work on trusting her. So, until next time, where can they find you, Sammy?
Y'all already know you can find me on all the platforms. Sammy Roos, SAMIRUESS, and then it's underscore on Instagram.
Fuck yeah. You can find me at Taylor Bavel, BAVL, on Instagram. And then we have our Soul Sync account, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. And our Ask Us Google Docs, like anything you want to say, just ask from your intuition.
And if your intuition is feeling called to go ahead and leave us a review, go ahead and do that too. Okay. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what your favorite episode is. And if you feel like, you can send this to a friend, maybe there's someone in your life right now that you're like, oh, they need to listen to their intuition. They're going through a hard time. They need to trust themselves. Go ahead and send this to someone that you think would really, really, really benefit from it. Because I think, like we said, we got to let our intuition guide us and we need to learn how to really trust and love ourselves fully. And doing this homework is going to help you tenfold. And both Taylor and I know because my throat closed up, but because we've both literally been doing it.
I'm dead. See, that was your intuition. Your intuition's like, we're done.
Literally, you have nothing left to say, babe.
Oh my God, I'm dead. Well,
Oh,
until
well,
next
I'm
time,
glad you laughed. Yeah, until next time.
we love you people.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye bye.